Here at Helmuth Ford, we are a small town dealership with no hassle and no pressure.
And here we are for another Real Talk here on Steve Shetler Media, Facebook, and YouTube. Hanging out with my buddy, Pastor Aaron Fleming. It's a Real Talk with Aaron and Steve, brought to us by New Life Community Church in Wellman, Iowa. Aaron, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Steve. How about yourself?
Doing okay. Doing okay.
All right, it's Real Talk. It's the part of the show where we try to talk about real things.
Yes, real, keeping it real.
What's going on in your lives, friends? Give us a question or a shout out, or tell us what's real in your life down in the comment section, or give us a like or a subscribe or even a share.
Sure.
All right, get the message out there. What's the real topic today, Steve?
You tell me. That's the thing. That's the beauty of this show. I am just along for the ride. This is Steve Shetler Media, but this is your show.
Okay.
I'm just a tag along. So you tell me, what's our topic?
Well, up at New Life Community Church in Wellman, I've kicked off the new year by talking about the book of Joshua, located kind of towards the front of your Bible if you got a paper Bible. Anymore, though, I'm telling people, turn in your phones to the book of Joshua.
Yeah, there you go.
Because everybody's reading their Bible on the cell phone, and hey, I don't care if you read it off a clay tablet or a papyrus scroll or your cell phone or a traditional book, as long as you're reading it. But we'll get around to that in just a little bit. So the book of Joshua. And if you're unfamiliar with the book of Joshua, it kind of occurs after the people of Israel had been slaves in Egypt for like 400 plus years or something. Okay. And so they get out of Egypt with Moses and they go wander around in the desert. Boy, does that sound familiar. Anybody ever wander around in the desert for 40 years trying to figure out what life is all about and who you are and where you're going and all kinds of things like that? And whew, sounds kind of like being the parent of an adult.
Yes.
Oh, we've both got is Riley 24 or 25?
She's 24. She'll be 25 this year.
Okay.
Seems just incredible that 25 years have passed.
And our oldest is 24, and he'll be 25 later this year. And, just trying to figure life out. And I think both of our kids are doing pretty well. Like
I think so.
They've managed to find jobs and
be
have
productive members of society.
Have places to live. But yeah, I know our son's still asking a lot of questions about what's next. And so, hey, whether you're 24 or 44 or 64, wherever you are, maybe you felt like you wandered around in the desert for a while. So that's where we are at the beginning of the book of Joshua. And then Moses, who's led the people for 40 years, he keels over. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Moses is dead. And now it's time for something different. And so God taps Joshua, who had been a servant to Moses for 40 years. God taps Joshua and says, I want you to take my people into the promised land. And that's what the book of Joshua is about, that process of getting into, taking possession, conquering the promised land. And so that's where we are. Now, the series I'm doing is called A River Crossing People, because there's a big obstacle between Joshua and the promised land. Do you remember what the obstacle is, Steve?
Tell me.
I'll tell you, Steve.
The giant people?
Ooh,
we're something else.
We're gonna get to the giant people. That applies.
The river?
There's the river. There we go. The Jordan River lies between Joshua and the promised land. Now, in the promised land are the giant people.
Okay.
Don't forget about them. They'll come back in the next episode. But we got to get across this river.
And sometimes you have to get past a cat.
Yeah, we have a studio cat whose name is
Poopy.
Poopy.
Very professional setting.
Yeah, Poopy the cat is hanging out with us today. I was at a loss after the cat walks through the camera screen.
Rivers, giants,
lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my.
Cats.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
my.
rivers. Now, before we actually get to the river, we got to get ready to get to the river.
Okay.
And maybe we should explain what the river is. In your life, friends, the river is the big, giant obstacle that has been keeping you from getting to the place that you want to go. And kind of assuming here that you want to go to a good place, that you want to pursue God's best for your life, and you're not just running around trying to figure out how to be the next great name in bank robbery.
The next Jesse James.
The next Jesse James. Ooh, he was a bad character. Bonnie and Clyde. I was just
Yeah.
reading about Bonnie and Clyde this morning.
Okay.
Kind of a really sad story. Like, they were not glamorous. If you saw the 1960 movie, they looked pretty glamorous. But apparently, like, they didn't rob banks because it was too dangerous. So they're mostly just holding up rural gas stations and less than $10 at a time, and
just enough to get by.
Just enough to get by. Yeah, stealing food out of people's gardens and stealing laundry off people's clotheslines, and really kind of living a miserable life. So we're assuming, dear listeners, that you are not, aiming for a life of crime. So where is God taking you? What is the promised land for you? Is it a new career? Is it just thinking about our kids? A lot of kids in their 20s. Maybe I shouldn't call them kids.
Yeah, young adults.
A lot of young adults hoping to start a family, find somebody to marry, and there's obstacles there. And man, it sounds like the dating scene out there is tough. Just like, how do you meet people in a world where everything is online? It seems like. So that's a challenge. If you're looking to buy your first home, how do you find a down payment?
Yeah.
Whoo. Starting a business. What are some of the obstacles to starting a business? Probably, startup capital, those kinds of things. So you've got some kind of river. Joshua had a river. It was a real river. And so God comes to Joshua and says a couple cool things. I'm going to read you. Here we go from Joshua chapter 1, verse 2.
Okay.
God says to Joshua, "Now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the Jordan into the land I am about to give them." So kind of summing up all that we've said so far, but get ready. And I really got to thinking about that this time, reading and preaching through the book of Joshua. I don't know if I've ever noticed that before. I just kind of like, one day they were there, and then the next day they were going across the river. No, there's like this preparation process. Okay. So I got to thinking, how do you get ready to cross this big river? Because, this is part of the mystery of faith. If you've been a Christian real long, you've probably started to figure out that there's some mystery. And what I'm giving you today, like there's no formula for how to get across the Jordan River. There's no formula in your life. And the people who start telling you the formula is to send me a love gift of $1,000. I'll run away from those kinds of formulas. So these are just some suggestions. These are not formulas. But here's what we got. In the very next verse, God says to Joshua, "Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon, and from the great river, the Euphrates, all the Hittite country, to the great sea on the west." And I call this step of preparation the get a vision preparation step. Get a vision. If you don't know what your promised land is, maybe that's the place to start. Because if you don't know where your promised land is, you don't know what river to cross. And so just some deep thinking and some prayer and some journaling. Where is it that I want to go this year? We're still in January, so we can talk New Year's stuff. And we're past, what do they call it? Failure Friday or Quitters Friday.
People quit going to the gym and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's maybe it's not necessarily Friday. It's January 10th.
Okay.
And it was on a Friday this year. So National Quitting Day. Hey, you quit something? Well, maybe let's get some vision and get back into it. Okay, that's step one. Get a vision. Step two is get into the Word. And this is a cool place, a good time of year to start reading through your Bible. Joshua 1 verse 8, God says to Joshua, do not let this book of the law depart from your mouth. Meditate on it day and night so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. And who doesn't want to be prosperous and successful?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't read that as super duper wealthy and everything always goes well for you. Spoiler alert, there's going to be plenty of struggle through the rest of this book. There's going to be battles to fight, and there's going to be setbacks, and the work isn't even completed by the time Joshua dies. But he is going to get a whale of a good start. So I've got two kids who are reading through the Bible. They've both got read through the Bible in a year Bibles, which I don't know if I like that format. Like,
Okay.
Have you ever seen those?
No, I have not.
Okay, it's like 3 chapters of Old Testament and 3 chapters of New Testament and a Psalm each day, which is great. Like, that's a time-honored way of getting through the Bible in a year. But it would just bug me to not go straight through a book.
Yeah.
But whatever works for you. Here's another cool thing. Like I said, there's no formulas, right? I have a friend in Illinois, a pastor friend, who reads through the Bible each year, but chooses a different translation every year.
Oh.
Shake it up. Mix it up a little bit. Get a fresh look at it. So step 1, get a vision. Step 2, get into the word. Step 3, get your supplies ready. Verses 10 and 11. Joshua ordered the officers of the people, go through the camp and tell the people, get your supplies ready. 3 days from now, you will cross the Jordan here to go in and take possession of the land the Lord your God is giving you for your own. So what does that mean? Just a couple things, just a couple of ideas, no formulas. Your money. You got some holes in your finances, and this is something Melissa and I just looked at recently. Like, we'd been making more money for a little while than we had in previous years, and we just kind of stopped budgeting because we kind of didn't have to.
Nice. Yeah.
We weren't living super high on the hog. We're not making that much money, but we just got into a season where we didn't have to struggle a whole lot, and I would say that we just kind of fell into nickel and diming a little bit, a little bit here and a little bit there, and not keeping track of receipts, and so we just felt like we might be going into a river crossing season, and it just might be good to tighten up the way that we're taking care of our supplies, because money is like the most basic supply, because you can buy all the other supplies with money. So how about you? New year, new you. Great opportunity to look at your budget, say, is this working? Am I really taking care of my supplies in a godly way? Do I need to make more money? Do I need to spend less money? Just check it out for yourself. Your supplies, your relationships. I kind of think our relationships are a sort of supply. You go into the promised land to fight some giants, to fight some walled cities. You might want to check on the guy who's watching your back and see if
Make sure everything's good.
yeah, make sure everything's good. Make sure he would not be sad to see you not successfully face a giant. Yeah. Oh, whoops. So yeah, basic relationships at church or at work or at home in the family. Can you shore something up in your relationships? Not that people are your possessions, but you have relationships. How about this one? How about your health? Wasn't it The Princess Bride where they say, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything? I may have just totally garbled.
I really don't know. I know the movie, but I don't know if I've ever actually watched it, to be honest with you. Yeah.
That's inconceivable.
I know. All I know is Andre the Giant is in it. That's because it's a pro wrestling thing. So, my sister loves that movie.
I'm dumbfounded.
I'm sorry.
There's a movie with Andre the Giant in it, and you haven't watched it.
I may have seen part of it at some point in time. But
Okay, well now you know what your next watch on date night with Stacy is.
Now you're wondering about your friend watching your back. I mean, if your friend hasn't watched The Princess Bride, I don't know if you can trust the guy.
Yeah, that's inconceivable. Wow. Okay. Wow. I'm gonna have to.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's not a moral issue. Very much. I mean, it's not. It's not a crime to have never seen The Princess Bride. That's just kind of an iconic film of our time.
I know.
There's plenty of movies that I haven't seen. My friend Scott has helped me the last couple of years, though. I went back and Predator and RoboCop and some of those classics that came out in the 80s when I was alive but never went to the movies.
Yeah.
So, we all have some remedial movie watching to do. Okay, well, now I'm just so dumbfounded by that. I don't know how to close this thing out.
Yeah.
Help me land the plane, Steve. Oh, my.
Have an altar call for those that haven't watched The Princess Bride.
There will be a class after church next week where we will provide pizza and watch The Princess Bride. Oh, my. It's not that important. I guess you were probably too busy watching Star Wars over and over.
Multiple times, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's land the plane here. Just kind of concluding this thought that God does have a promised land for each one of you. And it's risky to get there. It feels risky. Like God's got you. He's holding you. He's making a way. And we'll talk about that next week. How is God making a way? But there is a river to cross, and we just got to be real about that. And then the other thing is we may need to make some preparations to get across that river. God is going to move. God is going to do his part and miraculously make a way that you couldn't even see or even begin to imagine when you first saw that river. The cat is back. So we will wrap up here. The cat is keeping it real. Okay. So, hey, we'll see you around. If you're in the Wellman area and you're looking for a church or you just want to drop by and visit, we meet at the Parkside Activity Center up in the North Park in Wellman at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. And then we got a number of activities throughout the week, Bible studies or friendship groups and stuff that you can get involved in. So come check us out. You can check us out on Facebook, too. We live stream our messages at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. And we sure hope we see you around soon.
All right, that'll do it. We thank New Life Community Church in Wellman for being our sponsor of Real Talk. We'll see you next week.